Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Moving the Chains here on Team NBS Media. Happy Sunday. Happy Wild Card Weekend. Yesterday, the games were very exciting, and we've got 4 more to talk about today. I have a full house here, which I was surprised to see, excited to see. Of course, Jeff is back, and then we've got Thomas. Of course, the Eagles are playing. Thomas has to be here. Greg returning, and Nathan, welcome, everyone. How are you all doing?
Doing great.
Doing good, thank you.
Doing awesome. It's no better place than to be here on a wonderful Sunday morning. It feels great. Yeah, something like that. Something along those lines. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be humble today. I'm trying.
I know.
I can't guarantee it, but I'm going to try to be humble today.
Okay, so I think we should start off with the show from yesterday. We didn't get to tell everyone what our predictions were, but I'm going to be real and say I was going to pick the Chargers. So how was that Houston Texans performance? I'd love to hear how they just showed out and the defense just took over. Let's kick it off with Nathan.
Well, I thought the game, obviously, last night between the Chargers and Texans, I was a little concerned with how Houston's offense was going to look without Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. And, last couple of weeks, the defense kind of mildly struggled. And I think we were at home. The playoffs, we were resetting at 0. I just thought Houston was the better overall team on paper-wise. But I wasn't surprised how the score looked, if I'm being honest.
Ooh, I was surprised. What about you, Greg?
I wasn't. You know me. I've been all over the Houston Texans from the beginning of this year. And what happened? Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter just destroyed the Chargers offensive line. They showed up and played defense the way that I said that they could at the beginning of this year, and that was the key. Justin Herbert had the 4 interceptions, 3 of them. I still don't call a deflected pass a real interception on the quarterback. When a receiver touches that football and it goes off that receiver's hands like that, that's not on the quarterback. So, again, he gets nailed for the 4th interception, but Will Disley, that's his turnover to me. But it did my heart good because that guy who coaches from that school up north down there in Los Angeles, he's out. So I'm a happy camper.
Your favorite.
That's right.
So also, I don't think we were expecting anything different to come from the Baltimore game, so we don't have to touch on that too much. It was exactly what we thought it was going to be. Pittsburgh wasn't going to be able to just overcome that Baltimore offense. So, Thomas, you could take it away before we come to today's games. What were your thoughts on yesterday's matchup?
Show respect, Thomas.
Hey. Look. I'm be taking all the opportunities possible to make fun of the Pittsburgh Steelers today. Okay, I saw a stat last night that really made my night. It made my entire day. I didn't need to watch the rest of the game. It was great. It was 21-0 Ravens at halftime, right? Did you know that I want to make sure I get this right? So forgive me. The Ravens had they had more first downs than the Pittsburgh Steelers had plays in the first half. That tells you everything that I needed to know. I literally told everybody on the show on Off the Dome on Friday. I told everybody on Wednesday on the rankings roundtable finale that this game was going to be a snooze fest, and I wanted to test myself. I wanted to believe in my own statement. So literally, I had the game on, and I had it on in the background. I went to go lay down just to see if I was proven right. I woke up just in time to get ready for work, and it was 28-7 in the third quarter. And I was like, this feels great. If this is what it's like to be right, I want to do this all the time. This is awesome. So it was like, to actually wake up and to see that snooze fest on wide display for the whole world to see, it was great. It really was. And I don't know, man. I think I appreciate the Ravens for doing exactly what we all thought they would do. And shout out to the Chargers for proving to us that not everything is chalk, because I could have sworn walking into yesterday that the Texans were going to lose this game. We thought they were too depleted with the losses of Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. The offensive line that was struggling throughout the year, giving CJ Stroud trouble to move around the pocket and to throw the ball, giving him discomfort. The defense, who was playing well as of late, but we wasn't really sure how that was going to translate to the playoffs. To have them do what they did with, by the way, Tank Dell and Diggs in attendance, which I thought was a whole nother layer to it that I thought was pretty cool. For them to play the way that they did on both sides of the football was incredible. And it just goes to show you just how great coaching is that's going on with DeMeco Ryans, what he's doing over there. And honestly, just to show you how real of a team Texans are. I mean, they won a playoff game last year. We can't act like that didn't happen. And it was in a similar fashion that they did yesterday. So, it's a massive shout out to the way the Texans battled despite everything that's happened to them this year. It was very incredible. And it's still a successful season for the Chargers, because this time last year, they were drafting 5th overall and they had one of the worst records in the league and they were a joke. So to have that and then to be the 5th seed this year, you can't really go wrong with that, in my opinion.
I feel like that was your roundabout way of complimenting the Ravens. So if Nathan accepts it, we'll all accept it here.
Oh, he better.
It's all good in my book.
All right, good.
There you go.
That's all.
I will say
that I've ever seen in my life.
I will say the fact that TJ Watt did not get a sack, that can't happen. That was something.
Yeah,
TJ Watt, 127 snaps with 0 tackles, 0 sacks, zeros. 127 straight plays now. That is just horrifying. I saw the trade rumor nonsense out there today. No, Mike McCarthy's not going to Pittsburgh, and Mike Tomlin's not going to come to Dallas. Okay, all those people out there talking about, no, it's not going to happen.
That would be a crazy switch. All right, well, let's talk about what hasn't happened. And we're going to kick it off with the morning game, which morning for me at least, and the Broncos and the Bills. This is a very exciting matchup. Denver has done something that not many expected to do with Bo Nix. If you watched our Moving the Chains show last week, we were giving Bo Nix his flowers. So I'm just going to show some of his stats that we talked about in that game, because he's done a lot for his rookie season. Completely took over offensive rookie of the month, rookie of the week twice. I mean, he's really lighting things up here. And somebody that does that similarly is Josh Allen. So we're going to see 2 really strong quarterbacks take the field, except I don't know if the Bills defense is the same as the Broncos defense. So I'm going to give Jeff the first toss here. What have the Broncos done right this year? I feel like we're kind of a broken record. But in this matchup, I want to hear what you think they're doing right in order to take over against Buffalo.
But what they've been doing right this year, the reason why they're in this position was your head coach and your GM drafted a quarterback that he knows he can coach, okay? He's dealt with a quarterback that had similar traits in Drew Brees. And he didn't ask him to go out there and put the world on his shoulders. They ran the football effectively. They played great defense. They were able to keep him in games where he was comfortable and he didn't have to make 1,000,001 plays. So they stayed according to plan this year, and the results were better than a lot of people expected. So kudos to Sean Payton and company for having a plan, executing said plan, and getting the most out of it. Where it goes from here is up to those guys on the field now. You can only do so much to scheme up, and when it comes to playoff time, it's about going out there and making plays. So there's a lot to ask a rookie quarterback. It's never been done before. He's the first rookie quarterback to take his team to the playoffs as a starting quarterback. So we're going to see where this goes today. But overall, you have to be impressed with what we've seen from Bo Nix and company. And it starts with a franchise having a plan for its young quarterback.
We love to see a plan for the rookies coming out. So in Allen's 5 career playoff losses, the opposing quarterbacks have led their teams to an average of 31.2 points per game while accounting for 13 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a QB rating of 120. So I feel like this is going to be a the lights are out when it's come to playing the Buffalo Bills. I mean, QBs know how to play Josh Allen style, right? And Josh Allen obviously just has to take over from that point on. So, Thomas, what's your follow-up on that? How do you think this is going to be in the favor of the Broncos for this matchup?
Hey, I just want to let everybody in on some breaking news.
The Broncos are not favored to win this game. I repeat, the Broncos are not favored to win this game.
All right, now that I got that covered, okay, that stat, Ashmere, just threw me through a loop because basically what you just said is you have to play the absolute greatest 60 minutes of football in your entire life to beat Josh Allen. Like, that is just a thing that not many human beings can do on a consistent basis, let alone on a playoff stage, okay? So, by default, the Broncos are at a disadvantage. What I will say that does work in their favor is their defense. When you have a defense that is capable of taking the ball away and sacking the quarterback as often as they do, it's at least worth the conversation that the Broncos could pull off an upset today. Not saying it would be the case, but when you are the number one team in sacks in the entire NFL, like, I got to give you at least a chance. I really do. I mean, now, the counteract to that is that the Bills have an offensive line that has given up only 14 sacks on the year. So it's not like there are a bunch of turnstiles up front, but I just think in Denver's case, man, if you want to have a shot, Allen in that pocket, make it very uncomfortable for him. Have some inaccurate throws, have some 3 and outs. That's the best you got, because Bo Nix this is his first time being on a playoff stage like this. He's prone to making a couple mistakes. There may be an interception or two coming, so the defense would have to do its best against Josh Allen, which no pressure, in order for them to have a chance to win this game.
No pressure with this perfect stat that I handed everybody, surprisingly. I'm going to give Nathan and Greg the other side of the ball. So for the Bills, everyone is predicting that they're going to the Super Bowl. Like, they're going to take over the Chiefs. This is their year. I want to hear both of your guys' thoughts on what the Bills can do to just close out the Broncos. I mean, the AFC West teams have just been completely different from last year, of course. So let me hear your thoughts first, Nathan.
I don't think there are any excuses for Buffalo. They should win this game. They should at least win it by at least 2 possessions. I mean, Josh Allen. Listen, the stat you gave, Ashmere, is that's crazy. But it starts with James Cook. I mean, James Cook is not some scrub. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. I believe he was tied for 3rd in touchdowns with tied with Derrick Henry. He's got playmakers. I mean, they're not a Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis, but their offense, when everything's clicking, I think can outscore Denver. But it's their defense. I know their defense this year has dealt with some significant injuries, and it's kind of like that for the past couple of years. But it's going to start really on the defensive side of the ball. If Denver can find a way to contain Cortland Sutton and their offense, keep Bo Nix in the pocket most of the game, I think Buffalo should win this game.
All right, Greg, what are your thoughts here on the Buffaloes? Actually, I want to hear what's a flaw that Buffalo has, in your opinion.
It's the guy at quarterback. If he decides that he has to be the train and the only part of this train, as we've seen in the past, the Buffalo Bills will lose this game. Josh Allen stayed out of the way. He didn't try to take over every game. He had minimal interceptions this year as well. That's the way you win as a quarterback in the NFL. And if he decides that he has to be the man today, they're going to be in trouble because that Denver defense is going to come after him.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're not giving Denver the defense enough credit as they deserve. And Bo Nix offensively is just, he's going to roll out and figure out how to light things up here. The Buffalo's defense allowed an average of 33 points and more than 400 yards in their matchups against playoff opponents this season. So there's some holes in this Buffalo team. If they don't figure out how to close them against this lightning rookie, then I feel like we're going to see a very opposite turnout, which would be pretty crazy. Like Joe has just said, he's calling for the upset here.
Really?
Broncos upset, yes.
Oh, I agree with it.
Whoa.
I agree with it.
All right, tell us, Nathan.
I got the Denver Broncos winning by 3 touchdowns.
3, woo! I feel like that's a big ask.
And Sean Payton has won 73% of the time against bald head coaches in his career. Seriously, like 71-27 against the head coach who's bald on the other side of the field. McDermott is bald. I'm sorry. Yeah.
If that is the stat that we have to use for Denver to have a chance, that tells me everything that I need to know. You understand?
I just laughed.
And this is with you. This is with us having a panel with not 1, not 2, but 3 bold guys. This is not a good look, Greg.
I know.
I'm taking Buffalo off of that alone. My goodness. Give the bald guys some credit, please. You're one of them. You're in the community, man.
I know. I was sitting there and I saw that on X and I'm just like, what the hell is this about? And then I looked it up. And yeah, Peyton against bald head coaches has won, let's say, 73% of the games. It's just like, oh, okay.
Oh my God! If you're betting on this game, take the Bills, please, and save yourself.
If you're as accurate as Christy Love, I can advocate for you. But if you're not, then I can't.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. But the only thing that, in all seriousness, what works against Denver is that they don't have a potent running game to rely on in case the passing game isn't effective. The backfield that they have in Javonte Williams and McLaughlin, they're struggling to get 4 yards a carry on average. So it's not like they are, road runners in the backfield. And literally, it's one of those things where it's like, if that's what's going to get in the way of you winning this game today, then you have no chance. Because one of the best things that you can do against MVP level quarterback or just one of the best quarterbacks in the league is to have them, wait for it, off the field. You cannot do that if you're passing the ball all around the field. You can't do that. So if you cannot control the time of possession in the manner that you're supposed to and run the football effectively, you're kind of screwed. So that's the one thing that kind of works against Denver's favor is that they don't have a consistent running game that they can rely on in case Bo Nix does struggle in the passing game. And that's the thing that Buffalo can say. They can hand the rock to James Cook in the passing game, in the running game, and still be effective on both sides and still be totally fine. That's the thing with Denver. Their running game is too inconsistent. Can't trust their backfield. Hell, sometimes I'm wondering every time they get the ball if they're going to stay healthy after the run. So, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
You said that. I was literally going to ask that question because Estime said it's a do or die moment, but pressure makes diamonds. And I said, where's the pressure in the backfield? I don't understand. You guys talking big game up here. All right, let's go to Thomas's.
That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Thomas, it's your turn. Your time to shine. We're going to kick it off with you first so you can tell us what you think this game is going to look like from the POV of a fan. And I'm sure there are Eagles fans out here watching the game. So go ahead.
Wow. This is a rematch of week 1 in Brazil. Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Hard to forget.
Exactly. Who could ever forget how that game went? Jalen Hurts is back after being concussion protocol for 2 weeks. I'm gonna be honest, that is one thing that I am very kind of weary about as a fan, if I'm being honest. You come back from concussion protocol after being out for 2 weeks. I am curious how you're going to look in playoff time with just the adrenaline rush of being in a playoff game, being at home, things of that nature. But I mean, the Packers are no slouch. They have been slouching the past couple weeks. And I mean, you could point to Jordan Love if you want to, with the inaccurate passes and some of the interceptions that's been thrown. You could point to, kind of the inconsistency that's going on in their running game. It's like sometimes they want to involve Josh Jacobs, and there's times where they're just like, you know what, he doesn't really exist on our team, which is a big disadvantage, because if you want to have a chance at beating a team like Philly, you need to make sure that you're multi-dimensional. And if Jordan Love is throwing the ball 35 times in this game, it's not going to bode well. For Philly, we have arguably the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL. We have one of the best running backs in the NFL. And you want to dominate the line of scrimmage on both fronts, which is something that we're capable of doing with Saquon, with the offensive line. And a defense, by the way, who doesn't get a whole lot of shine as much as I think that they deserve to be. We have a first team all-pro linebacker. When is the last time that you can say the Philadelphia Eagles have a first team all-pro linebacker that starts for them? I will wait.
Jeremiah Trotter.
I will wait. So, with that being said,
You didn't like that answer.
With that being said, I think this is the game for Philly to take hold of and to run with. And I'm not saying it's a blowout. I think this is definitely going to be a similar game to Week 1, but we might be looking at a potential 24-31 sort of feel to it. It's what it's
this is like the time we had the show when you were saying the Eagles were perfect and they had no flaws. So I'm going to hand it over to Greg or Nathan to give you the flaws of the Eagles. So either one of you. Let's kick it off with Greg first. Go ahead, Greg.
Nick Sirianni. He's their number one flaw. Always has been.
Right. That's right.
See, Thomas even agrees. Coach Sirianni is just a flaw on that sideline. But again, the Eagles need to understand that the front seven of the Packers is very good at doing something, and that's stopping the running game. That's true. That means Saquon Barkley is going to be getting hit by Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker. Those guys don't take no prisoners when they hit you. Mm-hmm. But they don't have their full secondary in Green Bay either. So again, does that mean A.J. Brown gets loose or Devontae Smith gets loose? We'll see what happens. But outside of head coach Sirianni, there, the Eagles, they appear to be the much better franchise because of what Saquon Barkley did for them. And I've said this on other shows. He is my MVP this year. I don't care what Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson do as quarterback. I don't care. Saquon Barkley transformed the Eagles. You saw what they did last year when they collapsed. Saquon Barkley changed all that. There was no collapse this year in Philly. So Thomas, look at Thomas. He's got tears in his eyes.
I don't know if he's reading the banner or not. Maybe that made him cry.
Oh man. Well, first of all, there needs to be a whole lot more context in that banner. I just want to add that in there. But I don't hate it. It's definitely a fact. It is definitely a stat that needs to be put out there. For those Nathan, who are trying to bet on that game.
You haven't won it at home since 2006. That's a bit wow.
I know. Yeah. I'm dropping the heat for you guys.
It's AJ Brown. the same guy who went in front of the cameras and complained about not getting the ball. Everyone blames Sirianni. No, in all seriousness, for me, it's going to start with their defense. I think their defense, a healthy Eagles defense, is something to be afraid of. And if you look at the losses Green Bay has this year, they're all against teams. 5 of those losses are all against good teams. And I think, to me, I'm going to be watching Philadelphia's defense today, seeing how they take away either the run or the pass. If I'm Philadelphia, Green Bay, I'm just going to run the ball because I'm going to wear out their front 7 first, and then that opens up the playbook. But I think, to me, I'm not concerned about Philadelphia's offense. Know what Jalen Hurts is capable of. Saquon Barkley, listen, he is a difference maker for that offense. Lane, I'm not concerned at all. Its only thing to me is off defensively, it's going to be Philadelphia. I'm going to be focusing more than on the offense.
Okay, perfect. I want to hear Jeff's side. The Packers, I'm giving him the entire team because I let them express themselves for the Eagles. So Josh Jacobs, every time we come on Moving the Chains, we're giving him his flowers. I think he's the key. Just as the Eagles have Saquon as their key, Josh Jacobs has been their saving grace, especially losing Christian Watson last week. This is like he's their explosive player. So for the Packers to pull an upset here, what is their defensive priority, Jeff?
Well, first thing is you've got to be able to get these guys off the field. I think one of the things we've talked about during this late season kind of swoon for the Packers is their defense hasn't gotten the job done. We know how good their offense can be, and we know, yes, they do turn the ball over at times. They have periods of inconsistency, but your defense has to go out there and get the job done. It's something they haven't really done this year. We saw this during their playoff run last year. When they went into Dallas and won, yes, they scored a lot of points, but their defense got the job done early, right? Their defense is not getting the job done right now. So they've tried to make certain off-season additions to kind of address that. It hasn't gotten any better. They changed that coordinator over the past couple of years. It hasn't really gotten any better. So they've got to find a way. If you want to make a run, if you want to get into the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs, your defense has to start to show up. It can't just be all offense. It has to start today. If they go out there today, they're able to get 3 and outs. If they're able to get stops and hold teams to field goals and not touchdowns, and their offense is continuing to put up points, they will win. But if you're going to go out there, you're going to get behind in the chains, you're going to get behind on the scoreboard and try and chase from behind, you're not going to be able to advance. So they have to go out there defensively, start strong, play strong for most of the game. You can fade a little at the end if you have a big lead, but you can't go out there and get into a dogfight and think that at the end of the day you're magically going to make the stand defensively. Your defense has to show up early.
All right. Is this one of those matchups where you get the coin toss and you're taking the ball first if you're Green Bay? No. Okay.
If I'm Green Bay, I want the ball first because I don't want to risk giving up a lead.
Yes, you
that's the point. You got to get the lead early. So sometimes, yes, when you're comfortable in your defense and saying, "Our defense is going to get a stop, get us a short field, and we'll go out there and take a lead," then you can send them out there first and defer. But if you get the option to take the ball, if you're Green Bay, you go after it. You go try and take this lead early. Do not chance your defense going out there putting you behind 3-0 or 7-0.
Well, here's the one thing I will say. If there's any team that you can have a chance for that to happen, it is my Philadelphia Eagles, who has statistically proven all year long. This is what they have said, despite them being 14 wins on the year, all that. You want to know what the Eagles have said?
We don't care about the first quarter. It doesn't exist.
Literally. Like, we don't score on the opening possession. We don't want to get a first down half the time. We don't want to move the ball. It's a lot more 3 and outs in the first quarter, more than any other quarter that we have. It's like it doesn't exist. So if there's any team that you can chance having a 3 and out against in the first quarter to start the game, it's us. And I'm saying that as a fan. It is us. that you can afford to have that chance with.
Well, I'm glad Jeff
Doesn't
and I
guarantee anything.
understand the mission here. All right, before we go into our next two games, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go into our team chatter segment because a lot of chatter has happened this week in the NFL. So we'll be right back.
You are watching Team NBS Media. We are a digital media brand covering sports, entertainment, and lifestyle, with team members all across the country. Through our written content, podcasts, and video content, we bring you fresh and professional content. Interested in joining the team? Shoot us an email or DM. Make sure.
Are you looking for an energy boost during the day, but you don't like the coffee crash? Be sure to check out Clean Cause. They have delicious yerba mate teas with 150 milligrams of caffeine, but without the jitters. They also donate 50% of their net profits to help with drug and alcohol addiction. Interested in more? Click the link in our bio to get your first case. Welcome back, everyone, to Moving the Chains, our wild card weekend show. We've got a lot to talk about, but before we roll into the final two games, we're going to do our I forgot that I had music and I was talking. We're going to do our team chatter segment, and Jeff is going to take it away for us. So, Jeff, please take the wheel.
Well, we all know about Black Monday, so we're going to really just focus on just that this week. Of course, most of the teams are off there, off to Cancun and a lot of other places. So let's talk about the most important thing that happened this week, and that's Black Monday. So we know that there were some firings this week. I'm going to highlight the 3 Black Monday firings because quite a few of them happened prior to Black Monday. And that is, of course, these 3 guys. Okay, now we talked about last Sunday morning that Pierce being safe. That was the reports coming out that they were going to keep him around. Well, apparently those reports were either erroneous or they were purposely lies because plain and simple, they let him go the same day, right? For the most part, right? So he came in the next morning and found out officially he was let go, despite the fact they told him just win, right? And that'll keep you around. Well, there wasn't enough. They let him go anyway. Doug Peterson, as expected, was let go. Jared Mayo was shockingly let go. Okay, so if you look at it, 2 of these guys, first-year head coaches. One guy's been there a while. He's gotten fired multiple times now. Nevertheless, no Super Bowl to go with it this time, though. But Doug Peterson, the writing was on the wall. This team underperformed. There are people that don't agree that he was the problem. I agree he was. We've seen that pattern from Doug Peterson before, where he's had early success and then fallen off. And yes, there have been injuries. There have been a lot of things. But you've seen teams succeed with injuries no matter what. His teams never do. Okay, there's always something that goes wrong after the early success in his tenure, and that's why he's out. The other 2 guys, however, first-year guys trying to prove themselves as head coaches in organizations that preached patience with the hires, got rid of them in the first year. Why? That is the question that everybody wants to know why. And they'll go, a lot of people are saying Antonio Pierce is never really a good fit to be a head coach. You'll never know that in a year. Jared Mayo, same thing. When you fired Bill Belichick and you hired him, Bob Kraft said, this is a long-term hire. We believe in what he's going to do. And less than 12 months later, you have a change of heart. So there's something in the water here that we're not drinking, but they are, that believe that they have this reasoning that we don't get to understand. So that's the one thing I think not only the media, like ourselves, the fans, and other interested parties want to know why these 2 first-year head coaches were let go in 2 organizations that preached patience with the hire.
For sure.
Teacher, can you please call on me?
Go ahead, Thomas.
Please call. I think I said this on one of my previous shows this week, and I'm going to say it again. I'm starting a petition that we should retire the Black Monday phrase. We should retire it. It is no longer a thing, okay? Antonio Pierce went through his exit interviews and then got fired Tuesday. We have Gerard Mayo, who was fired not even on Black Monday. He couldn't even wait to get there. He got fired on Sunday. He was gone. Adios. Same with Doug Peterson. Gone. Adios. Then, just when you thought the head coaches were safe, the GMs were a part of the snuff too. You got GMs in Tennessee that's gone. That happened on Tuesday as well. Then, just when you thought Tom Telesco, a GM of the Las Vegas Raiders, was going to stay as well, he was gone on Thursday. So I just want to retire the whole Black Monday thing. It does not exist. Instead, I'm going to do a petition. It should now be called Black Week. That way we give all NFL franchises the entire week to make every single transactional move they need to make. You want to fire somebody? You want to let somebody go? You want to just provide clarity for the whole rest of the league? You have a whole entire week to do so. No longer Black Monday. Call it Black Week. Call it Dark Week. I don't care. Crazy. But Black Monday no longer exists. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Because these guys, we keep thinking that they're going to stay. We keep seeing reports that they're going to stay. Oh, if you just win this game, or if you, in some cases, if you just lost this game, you probably would have kept your job. It doesn't matter. We're still going to fire you anyway, and we're still going to look ahead of you. And we have all week to do it. I just wish they would just acknowledge that so that we can get on with it and move on. But yeah, Black Monday is retired. In my eyes, it's Black Week for me.
I don't think the NFL is going to be going around calling it Black Week.
Yeah, well, why don't we call it U-Haul Week? You know, National U-Haul Week.
I think there's another term.
All the people are going to be moving.
Exactly. I prefer exactly what Jeff just said, U-Haul Week, because these guys have to pack up their homes and go back to wherever they came from and all that other nonsense. Brent Parthon getting fired in Tennessee. He moved up to draft Will Levis. That was his big move. And that move didn't pay off. Gerard Mayo had a contract in his own contract as the assistant coach. He was going to take over from Bill Belichick. Robert Kraft is yet again having somebody gone so that he can bring in one of his boys, as they have hired Mike Vrabel as their head coach today. I don't understand how you can actually have Gerard Mayo staying as your assistant coach with this agreement in place that you're going to be the head coach and you're fired after one season. Give me a break. That's just disgusting.
And you get fired for your former teammate. That's the part that kills me. Is you fired him for his former teammate. Yeah, that's a little hard to swallow. You know. But nevertheless, You hire a coach for his vision. You come in to rebuild a team, you need at least 3 years to see any kind of results, not one. So if you're firing a guy after a year, that's a reflection of leadership above that person.
Yep.
Unless it's something grossly negligent, like we saw with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was fired in a year because he was grossly negligent. He was abusive to his staff. He was abusive to his players. He didn't take things seriously. You know, as you saw, he sends the team off after a loss, and he's there partying with some unknown woman. I mean, that's gross negligence, okay? That gets you fired in a year. Not trying to lead a team with a young team and a young quarterback and getting fired in a year when you know darn well 90% of these young quarterbacks don't produce worth a damn in their rookie season. So at some point, you really have to look at ownership and say, what did you really want out of this situation? With the Raiders, what did you really want out of this situation? If you didn't believe he was going to be your answer for 3 years, why did you keep him on after you gave him the interim tag? Okay? If you saw enough out after the interim tag, you should be building the team in his direction. And after 3 years going, if there's no real improvement, he's got to go. Let's jump to that GM. Yes, he moved up to get Will Levis. I will say this. The team that Rand Carthon has now is better than the team he inherited from the last 80.
Yep.
Okay? So while it didn't show record-wise, looking at that roster, it is a better roster than when he took over. To say that team is not improved was a lie by Amy Adams. That's BS.
Yep.
Okay? I don't know who you planned on hiring, who you wanted to hire. or maybe it's because that head coach didn't want what he was bringing in, then you know what? That's a problem that you should have had with the hire. But you don't hire a coach that can't work with the GM. Okay? That's strike one. Okay? If you're going to bring in a GM, the GM should be able to hire guys that he believes are going to come in and not only be successful as a coach, but can work with him long term. They've got to work that out. You can't fire a GM because the head coach doesn't like what he's getting. But you know what? Then maybe the head coach is wrong because he's supposed to be working with your GM. Your GM is supposed to be finding him talent. They have talent in Tennessee. They couldn't win this year because they had issues at quarterback and even with the veteran that they had. You could have signed another veteran. You weren't beholden to the veteran backup that you had. You could have gotten a better quarterback. Y'all believed it was fine. Your head coach believed it was fine until they were losing games, and he needed an excuse to blame somebody. So that's another case of GM, head coach, not exactly being on the same page, which is what they're supposed to do when you hire the guy. He's supposed to be able to come in and work with the guy that he's working with. So there are certain frictions there. I don't think Rand Carthon deserved to go. I think that was messed up. And people are going to say, well, you're rather sentimental because of, well, yeah, I'm a little sentimental because they didn't get a shorter leash than the guys that aren't of said complexion. So let's be realistic. We're going to call a spade a spade. If you're going to say somebody, I'm defending guys because of their skin color, well, guess what? They're getting a shorter leash because of their skin color. Because, there's certain GMs that didn't deserve 3-4 years that are still in their seats because, plain and simple, they're not of a darker complexion.
Joe, Shane. Just throwing some names out there.
Bingo. All right. He not only picked the wrong horse in the race, but both of them will come back to bite him in the butt. Whew. And he's still getting another bite at the apple. Think about that. Okay, there's a guy in Tennessee that just got fired because they didn't improve fast enough. This guy took a team that went to the playoffs in his first year and totally botched it up on national television and is still sitting comfortably getting ready to make draft decisions again.
Oh boy.
Nathan, go ahead.
Some of us melanin-rich people don't get those second chances.
And I think to add on to that too, I think also the biggest issue is, I think with 32 NFL teams, the one word that comes to my mind is identity. Mm-hmm. What do you want your team to be? Everybody's not a Kansas City, the Patriots, all that. I think sometimes ownership kind of micromanages how they want the team to look. Like Shad Khan, for example, he wants to be in London, England, but your team's not winning. Like for me, it's who you hire and who you put in those positions, whether it's a GM, coach, all that. Everybody has to be on the same page. If you're not on the same page, you're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders. You're going to have the Tennessee Titans. You're going to have organizations that don't have a clear direction. Why do you think the Jets struggled? Woody Johnson, Robert Saleh, to me, improved their defense from what it was when we first came in. And then you bring in Aaron Rodgers, who you traveled privately for. He comes in and
runs amok.
And Robert Saleh scapegoated. And it's just like, where does the accountability from ownership, as Jeff pointed out, and Thomas and Will and everyone pointed out, is where's the accountability from ownership take place? Look at the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell came in there and everybody is bought in on the vision. When you have everybody collectively bought in on the vision of what you want the organization to be in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be fine. But there's also to this notion that quarterbacks should come in out of college right away, Caleb Williams, and develop right away. It's total BS, because you're going to have your Mitch Trubisky's, your others that unfortunately just are going to end up being backup quarterbacks and won't pan out. So it's got to be we got to be better than that.
Yeah, and can all franchises just be realistic with their expectations? Because like you just said, it drives me nuts how these poor franchises think that they're in the same class as the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, year in and year out. I got breaking news for you.
That's not how it works.
Okay? Some of these teams, like the Raiders, you have, for a large majority of my lifetime, you have been irrelevant. I've heard so many people tell me, oh, the NFL is good when the Raiders are good. Bullshit. Okay? I have seen the NFL boom in so many different ways with the Raiders being bad. Okay? Raiders, Giants, Browns, Jaguars, Patriots now. All these guys have these unrealistic expectations for how their head coach in their roster is supposed to be. Like, you don't see what talent you have on full display week in, week out. And it's mind-blowing to me. It makes no sense. How realistic are your expectations? I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. None.
All right. I think we're going to have to head into the games for today, but you guys can, I think Thomas has his show. He can bring you on to talk about the U-Haul week, as he likes to have it renamed. I do have one thing to say, obviously, since we're talking about the Raiders so much. I think AP was given the short end of the stick. He didn't pick Gardner Minshew, right? Like, this was not his choice of QB. And then he gets hurt, and then we go back to AOC, who was revoked of his starting time because of how he closed out last season. So I just think for the Raiders and for Tom Brady stepping in, and then you're firing the GM, there's just a lot of, I hope Tom Brady is doing things in the favor of the Raiders. Maybe he saw that he kind of ruined the franchise back in the day, and now he's here to just change his ways. He did like a little trip like Aaron Rodgers had done, and he'd seen something else, so he wants to change what he's done for the Raiders franchise. But I think that the entire firing is going along with what everyone said here. He did not have enough time. Like, you cannot expect this team that's a bunch of mishmash players put together on one team just to make it through 18 weeks was going to revive itself and do something different. And they ended up winning games, and that was what they were supposed to do. And he still lost his job. So that's just my 2 cents on the Raiders. All right, now let's roll into the third matchup of the day, which is our Commanders and Bucks. And I think this is probably the most exciting game, in my opinion. Jayden Daniels has been playing extreme football. He loves to bring it really, really close and just figure out how to win at the end, as Thomas has seen in his own lifestyle. So we're going to let Thomas speak last because we've already given him enough Eagles time. So, Greg, what do you like so far for the Commanders, how Jayden Daniels has been playing in this offense?
Well, Jayden Daniels was my number one quarterback in this draft class. It was not the guy that went to Chicago. And Daniels has proven himself. He has been able to avoid being hit, which was something I was worried about with him coming out in college. He was too upright as far as I was concerned. But the Commanders have gelled enough in front of him on that offensive line this year, which is a little bit of a shocker, but they have played pretty well in front of him. They basically have enough talent there in Washington to compete with Tampa Bay. They have enough talent to compete with almost anybody in the NFC except for maybe the Lions. I really feel that this Commanders team has a real decent shot at winning today. It's going to depend on the health of the Buccaneers secondary.
Okay, Nathan, I see you shaking your head. Why don't you go Bucks? What's wrong with the Bucks secondary here?
I don't have any issue with the Bucs secondary. I think for me, if you find ways to take away their number one receiver in Terry McLaurin, I think you've got to fit. I think you've kind of won the game. I think that's something from watching Washington's games, kind of not getting Terry McLaurin involved early. That's something that kind of hurts them. And also, too, you just got to make them kind of force themselves in situations where they can't get themselves out of. I think Washington's a young team with a lot of inexperience. And to me, if you keep Jayden in the pocket, I think you've beaten them. But also too, don't forget their backfield. Austin Eckler's back now. Brian Robinson, those two, you got to figure out how to contain those guys too. So I think you got to take the pass away from Washington or the run away. And to me, if you do those things, if you're Tampa Bay, listen, that front seven for Tampa is nothing to sneeze at. To me, if you do those things, I think you've beaten Washington.
Okay. Well, of course, Joe's going to pick the Commanders because what does he have to lose now that the
left hand up, Joe? Left hand up.
All right, Jeff. For Tampa Bay, the defense has been, here and there. They've shown flashes of life, but I think against a strong Commanders offense who also has a defense that they both just, show in and out throughout the game. So I know you love to talk Bucs. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that Bucs defense and what they could do to combat a commanding Commanders team?
Well, when these two teams met to start the season, both were healthy, right? The Bucs defense not as healthy as it was week one. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why they've struggled, both safeties were injured. Missing Winfield affects their defense immensely. They've had injuries up front at times with Kalijah Kancey being out, Yaya Diaby's being out. So they've had to manufacture pass rush at times. But Winfield is the X factor on this defense. His ability to cover, his ability to play in the running game allows them to do a lot of different things. And when he's out, it affects everything. Jordan Whitehead, the other safety, was out as well. So you're missing both safeties for good periods of time. So when they won that little bit of a losing streak they had, that was usually when both of those safeties were out. They were able to correct at least at some point. But what you have to do if you're Tampa Bay, starts with early down success, slowing down this Washington running game. Do not let them get in 3rd and 5 or less. Keep them 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, maybe even 3rd and 11. Put them in longer situations where you can take McLaurin away, send your pressure at the young quarterback, and not let him get comfortable in the pocket. How do we know that works? We've seen him play Dallas twice, and Dallas, even with a depleted defense, was able to do that, just that. Like, they beat him the first time. They almost beat him the second time, until they made the switch at quarterback, right? So when you look at it, there's a recipe to beating Jayden Daniels. It's just what's got to happen is you have to go out there and do it for 4 quarters. You can't let up at any point because that's when he gets hot and beats you. But you have to go out there. You have to pressure him consistently, take away his running game, and make it hard for him to find McLaurin in the secondary. You don't got to totally take him away. You just got to make it hard, whether it's using a pass rush to move him off his spot or by throwing different coverage looks where he has to wait and really diagnose for the pass rush to get there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to steal a question from Bill's show yesterday. He asked, what is one player on offense or defense that you see making a difference in that game that he was talking about? So I'm going to say that for here. What Bucs player, what Commanders player do you see making a big impact in today's matchup? We'll start with Thomas.
Ooh.
I know it's a curveball.
It is a massive curveball, and this kind of sounds very Mickey to say, but I think Baker Mayfield is just the biggest monkey wrench in this entire game. This guy, I'm gonna say it. He's played like a top 10 quarterback this year. 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions on the year. I think with him having to play as well as he did, despite losing Mike Evans throughout the season, losing Godwin for the remainder of the season with his injury, some of the inconsistencies on the front line with the offensive line, despite all those things, he has found a way to be productive and to lead an offense that is number 1 in the NFL on converting 3rd downs. So that's why when Jeff mentioned Jayden Daniels on 3rd down, the reason why I find that so ironic is because they're going against a team that if you don't get them off the field on 3rd down, they will beat you. They are number 1 in the NFL for converting 3rd downs. That's literally what the Bucs do for a living. And Baker leads the charge in that regard. So, I just think that Baker's the biggest monkey wrench in this entire matchup, honestly. Because if he starts dialing it up the way that he's been doing it all year, look out. It may get ugly, and it may get ugly fast.
All right, what about you, Nathan?
For the Commanders, I'm going to say Rashard White. I already know Mike Evans is going to do Mike Evans things, but their running game, to me, I think is still potent for Tampa Bay. Even when he wasn't there, Bucky Irvin picked up some of the slack, but Rashard White, to me, I still think is proven he can be a number one running back in any system. For the Commanders, I gotta say Terry McLaurin. To me, like, you are the number one receiver. You have to find ways to get yourself involved in the game. Like, there's games I've watched where he's not like this. I can't remember who they played, but he didn't touch the ball until the fourth quarter. I don't know too many number one receivers that's happened over the years. That can't happen. So to me, I think those are the two most important players for me.
All right. What about you, Greg?
I'm going to go with a defensive player named Marshawn Lattimore, who has been a nightmare for Michael Evans, the Tampa Bay wide receiver. That's going to be a very interesting matchup because Mike Evans' career numbers against the New Orleans Saints just suck against Marshawn Lattimore. And this was a very wise move by the Commanders to pick up Lattimore at the trade deadline. That's the matchup I'm looking at.
All right, Jeff.
Well, I talked about the safeties. Well, both of those guys are questionable to return today. We know for Whitehead it was the neck injury from the car accident. Jamel Dean was also hurt. He's back. He's going to be questionable, most likely to play. They practice fully. But both of these teams, we know who their number one receivers are, Mike Evans and, of course, Terry McLaurin. When those guys have been focused on and slowed down, we've seen other people step up. Usually it's the same position for these two teams. One of those guys is definitely going to be there today. The other one is still questionable, right? So we're talking about the tight end position. Zach Ertz has stepped up big for Washington down the stretch, okay? He's going to be a big key for them today. Same thing on the opposite side. Cade Otton was the guy that stepped up big in key third down situations in the red zone for Tampa Bay. He's been hurt. He's had a knee injury. He's questionable for today. So whether he goes or not is going to be crucial for this team. They have a bunch of other tight ends. They have a bunch of other players. But the tight ends have made the biggest difference when the ones have been taken out, right? When people focus on those number one wide receivers with no Godwin in Tampa Bay, Cade Otton and those tight ends have been the guys that stepped up. Same thing in Washington. Zach Ertz has been huge, made some huge plays for this team going down the stretch. Either one of those two guys gets hot today, that's going to be a big difference for these offenses.
Yeah, for sure. Zach Ertz has been literally lights out. I love watching him just take over offensively. Mine is going to be Olamide Zacchaeus.
I was just getting ready to say him.
Yeah, because that game,
yes,
he's really turned things around. When you see Terry McLaurin just covered too heavy, he has been the saving grace alongside Zach Ertz. So I think that he is a secret threat that can really take over for the Eagles. The Commanders. I don't know why I got Eagles there.
No, because he played for us last year.
I know.
It was the hidden trade that wasn't a trade between Jahan Dotson and Zacchaeus. Well, we found out who was the better out of the two. Oh God, bro.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. In our final game, which is another very crazy matchup, Vikings win 14 games, first team to ever not be where they're supposed to be in the division title, and they're going to take on a team that has beaten them in the past Monday night in Arizona due to the fires happening in Los Angeles. And I just want to say, I hope everybody's okay in LA. I've been watching the news, obviously, here in the Bay, and it is super unfortunate, very sad to see everybody just being displaced and having to evacuate. So sending all of our thoughts if you're tuning in. Thank you for tuning in, taking the time out to distract yourself from what's happening in Los Angeles. So for the Vikings, Sam Darnold did not play his best football last week. We could just say that straight up against Detroit, and it showed. The Lions are the superior team in the NFC. So, Thomas, for the Rams, this team, they played in a weird division. I mean, like, the NFC West was terrible, and somehow the Rams offense figured out how to get it through and through. So, who is one of the shining stars for the Rams offense, and you think will be someone that'll show out on Monday night?
Oh my God, you gave me a layup. You threw me a curveball at the near the beginning of the show, midway through. Now you've given me a layup. Ah, man, I love this guy. I love this guy so much. He has become the number one target for Matthew Stafford. And cover your ears because boy, oh boy, do I enjoy saying this name.
Puka Nacua!
That's my guy. I love him. He is awesome. Okay. And of course, it does get a little bit more of an extra motivation given that he was on my fantasy team this year. Just want to throw that out there. I appreciate you. But all that aside, that guy, no matter what the route is, no matter what spot on the field it is, he finds a way to get open and get open often. Apparently, with the way that their offense is set up, Cooper Kupp is now considered a pseudo blocker now. I don't know how that has become a thing, but that's what's going on because apparently Stafford doesn't like throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp no more. It's like he just kind of cheated on him without cheating on him because he's still on the roster. So that's what's going on between Nacua and Kupp. But that is the shining star for me. Obviously, if you don't want to go him, you could easily say Kyron Williams, who's been spectacular this year. He actually went on a streak for a large majority of the season with him getting a rushing touchdown during the season. You could easily say him, but I think undoubtedly, unquestionably, a guy who's going to get the ball and get the ball often is Puka Nacua. And boy, oh boy, is he good. He is very good.
Yeah, you're giving me Little John vibes with those glasses there, Thomas. I was waiting for you to throw it. Yeah!
Yeah, Bug! Yeah!
And with his audio.
Yeah. What?
I was thinking about it. Thank you for the idea. I was thinking about it. I was contemplating it. I really was. But Puka Nacua is a bad man. He really is. So that's the guy I'm looking for on Monday.
All right, for the Vikings, I'd love to hear Nathan's thoughts about what they did wrong. How was their bad matchup against the Lions going to hinder how they perform against the Rams on Monday?
I just think Detroit is just that good of a team, personally. I think for me, I think Minnesota, even though I still think, to me, I think you have a guy in the backfield named Aaron Jones. Nice to utilize him a little bit more. I mean, understand Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, they're going to demand the ball, but I think you got to figure out how to utilize the run and the pass. Got to figure out how to mix it in there somewhat. I think Sam Darnold will be fine. I get it. It wasn't a good game, and we've seen over time he's not been a consistent quarterback. But for me, I think it just was Detroit was just a better team in that game. So going against the Rams, I start with coming out aggressively running the ball. Aaron Jones last year when he was in Green Bay, let's not forget the game he had when he went off. So establish the run with early, get your playmakers, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson, don't forget about him. He's kind of an underrated playmaker for the Vikings. Yeah, I think, and then the defense itself, I think the defense will get it together.
Okay, a big topic that Jeff and Joe and I had last week was Sam Darnold getting paid. So I want to ask Jeff, is this still going to hinder on what that paycheck looks like, even if they okay, go ahead. Please tell me. Everybody tell me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, we've been hearing all week about this team is going to trade for J.J. McCarthy. This team is going to trade. You want to hear all that go away real fast? Let him lay an egg today against the Rams. That'll go away real fast, okay? So it's money time now, right? We're always talking about quarterbacks and money, and quarterbacks are the reason why you win this, and they have to have playoff success. Let him go out there today and lay an egg versus the Rams. You will find that all that chatter about moving on from J.J. McCarthy is just that chatter. Right. The fact of the matter is he's playing for a contract. He's earned a contract somewhere. how big a contract that is. If he comes out there and lights it up playoff time and does everything he needs to do for this team to win, and they go out there and win it against the Rams today and maybe lose somewhere down the line, he's going to earn every bit of that contract, whether it's in Minnesota or somewhere else. If he goes out there and lays an egg today, there's going to be room for teams to negotiate, because what's going to happen is they're going to say, yes, we can see you can win in the regular season if we're giving the right formula, but come playoff time when you really have to step up, you have never done that. So we don't know what we have invested in you. So we're not going to guarantee you all this money. We'll throw it out there in incentives. If you go out there playoff time, you can earn your playoff incentives. But right now, we're going to keep you as a guaranteed salary for this much, and then the rest will be incentive-based, which is not what he's going to want for that big deal, because it'll be his last big deal most likely. He won't get another one after this one.
Greg or Thomas, you want to follow up?
Go ahead, Greg.
This whole school nonsense, I don't like this whole organization. I never have. I never will. I just don't like them. It's just their whole whatever. You do whatever that little rant is that you start your games off with.
School chant.
Yeah, that's the chant and all that nonsense. But Sam Darnold is he's more than likely going to be the next Vikings quarterback next year. Bottom line, because he did lead them to 14 wins. They had a much better season than many people anticipated. I mean, that's nothing wrong with that. But again, J.J. McCarthy is still under a rookie contract. He doesn't cost them anything to keep him as their backup. So Sam Darnold is going to be the Vikings quarterback. That's just basically what's going to end up happening.
Thomas?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that, like Jeff said, he better show up on Monday night. He better. There is no ifs, ands, or buts in between. He better play like he's been playing a large majority of this year. I'll say this, though. And I am poking fun because we all saw what we saw on Sunday night. I think it's fair to say that Sam Darnold was
Seeing ghosts.
all over again. And now the thing is, I think we have a tendency when it comes to sports media or just as fans, we tend to overreact to certain things based on a certain guy's performance. I genuinely thought watching that game that whatever like special powers he had this year just went non-existent, and it had nothing that, I mean, don't get me wrong, some of it was just a lot of errant throws, missing Justin Jefferson. Now mind you, Justin Jefferson is like 6'3", 6'4". It's very hard to miss him. You missed him on a consistent basis. You were missing Jordan Addison on a couple throws. You were going 0-9 in the red zone. That should not happen. Just shouldn't be a thing. And in the case for Sam Darnold, like, dog, if you find a way to screw this up, buddy. I mean, it's almost like the contract number has dwindled since last week. It went from, you know what, we may actually be contemplating $45+ million. Sounds outrageous to say, but some teams are desperate enough to pay it. Okay. And then you had last week happen, and it's like, now, are we sure about 40? Do you want to put it down to 35? If he ends up wetting the bed on Monday night, not saying that this will be the case, because I like the Rams defense. I don't love it. If he ends up wetting the bed on Monday night, that 40 conversation goes out the window. It's gone. Forget about it. And Vikings have all the leverage to do whatever they want, however they want to do it. They want to keep them, great. They want to give them up, great. However they see fit. It's all on him on Monday night, which sounds crazy to say because throughout the year we was just like, for sure he was going to get a big time deal. Well, if you can't handle the blitz, buddy, and you're going to be a starting quarterback for my team, that's a problem. That is a problem.
But was it just Sam Darnold who didn't handle that blitz? I think the offensive line kind of had a big deal in that as well for the Vikings. See, this is the thing. This is the thing that I can't stomach when everybody points just to the quarterback. When you don't have an offensive line that plays well in front of you,
Thank you, Greg.
no matter who you are. No matter who you are.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it with Justin Herbert yesterday. But go ahead.
Yeah,
Joe.
but there's times where you can look at it and say it's the quarterback. There's times when you can look at it and say it's the offensive line.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to complex looks, that's followed him everywhere. It was a problem for him in New York. It was a problem for him in Carolina. There's a problem for him in San Francisco in the short stint that he played last year. And guess what? It was a problem for him in a couple of games where they lost this year, right? And even some of the games they won, where he had certain issues at times picking up the blitz. He's never been great at reading blitz. It was something that he had an issue with you at USC. There's an issue with him in the pros. So that's continued to dog him. There's always going to be a team that finds a way to blitz you, even when you're already a good reader of the blitz. Sometimes the defensive coordinator just gives you certain looks that you just can't pick up that day. It happens. But when it's a consistent problem picking up the blitz, which it usually is with him, that's a problem. So I think overall, they played good. He's played great this year compared to his whole career. There's no doubting it. He's earned a job somewhere. Like I said, when I graded him coming out in the draft, I said he would be a quality starter, not a great starter. And he's lived up to that moniker. He could probably be a quality starter somewhere in the right situation. However, is he going to be a great starter starts with today. So he has to go out there and perform well. You can't keep laying eggs in the playoffs and think your team's going to win. Eventually, you're going to lose. So at this point now, you need him to go out there and play today. Because I think at some point, listen, the Rams are a very good offensive team. You know, and they have two very good receivers, and they have a heck of a young running back, as you know, Greg. So while they have an aging quarterback and a line that has a lot of issues, they still find ways to move the football. And if they're not careful, they'll find themselves losing this game.
I truly think this is an evenly matchup. The LA defense has shown out the past 6 games. And I think that the Vikings defense of the beginning needs to be the Vikings defense of the end. And so 2 star wide receivers, two good quarterbacks. Like there's a lot of I see a lot of equals in each of these teams. So it's going to be a very exciting matchup, I feel like, going down till the end. So to close out the show, I want to collect everybody's predictions and their picks. So we'll go with Greg. Please, Greg, what are your picks?
Oh, starting with the early game.
Yeah, all 4.
All right. I'm going to say the Denver Broncos beat the Buffalo Bills today.
Okay.
Oh my God. Okay.
And it's only because that defense has been so good at getting to a quarterback. And I don't care how good their Buffalo Bills offensive line has been. They have not faced this type of a pressure situation this year from a defense. And that is going to be a telling tale. Patrick Surtain can cover, what's his name? Amari Cooper. Shakir, he's got a tough task going up against those Broncos safeties and up the middle. I'm taking the Broncos in game 1. Game 2, I am barely taking the Fly Eagles Fly crowd. That's enough talk about that bunch. I'm also going to take the Washington Commanders to beat Tampa Bay. And in Monday night, of course, it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams, led by Notre Dame's Kyren Williams. That's the bottom line there. That's it. Kyren Williams will lead the Rams, and they will beat Skull. Yeah. And
Okay.
Wow, a lot of upsets. Wow.
I like it. All right, Nathan, let us know.
My picks are the Broncos, Eagles, Commanders, and Vikings.
Wow.
Broncos, Eagles, Commanders, Vikings. All right, Thomas, go ahead.
Okay, I have Buffalo. Give me Buffalo, Philly, Buccaneers today, and I'll take the Vikings as well.
All right, Jeff, your turn.
For me, give me the Bills. Give me the Eagles. I'm going to take the Bucs at home. And then last but not least, give me the Vikings on the road.
Okay. We're in lockstep on that one. Okay.
And we get Joe's picks up as well.
Packers. Boy, oh boy, them Packers, boy. They have shown their tail the past couple weeks, haven't they?
So since we're talking about picks, we didn't update everybody on the regular season. I see you're going to sneak past that. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, yes, we had our regular season champion crowned. The final standings are in. So, overall, I snuck by Ashmere.
Wow. That's extremely close.
Joe,
That's
by
extremely
3.
close.
That's crazy.
Greg ends up at the tail end, but it was very close. Actually, when I look at that, I think that's not even the final standing. So we're going to fix that for you in 1 second. But yes, I there you have it. All right.
I did not have that in my bingo card. I did not
I
have
was cooking
Jeff.
all season.
I did not have Jeff photoshopped in a Black Adam picture frame as a picks champion. I did not have that in my bingo card as of 2025. And I did not have that on my bucket list. So congratulations on all fronts, Jeff.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
I guess so. I did not see that coming. That is actually on my screen. And it was on my screen for more than 5 seconds. Wow. Wow. I don't know what to do.
I expect to see this t-shirt on Jeff at the Tropicana Bowl this week. The
graphic was more than enough. I don't need it.
You need the shirt.
Yeah.
You need the shirt.
I physically can't unsee it now. Like that's it. That's all I need.
I thought it was
graphic
cool.
was enough.
I mean, it was a little much, but
Just
only because I was down 3 games.
Well, you closed with tighter than that. I'm going to show you the actual one.
Wow.
So yeah, you can feel better. You can feel better. Wow, 3 games. No, you're even closer than that.
That's even more annoying.
That's
2 games.
There.
Greg finished behind Joe by 1 game.
Because I knew I had my lone wolves pick last week, and I didn't get to take the Jets over the Dolphins because we didn't do that game last week, and I probably would have tied Joe.
Wow, that's even. You know what this reminds me of? You know how like you for those who gamble, you know how you do a parlay and there's that one leg that's extremely close, and then you're like watching that game and it's like, okay, I only need you to get such and such for me to win, and then the final score ends and they didn't do a thing. Like I feel like that is Ashmere right now. Like everything
the entire season.
Yeah, everything was right there for the taking. All you needed was a couple more wins. And
yeah,
they
when
just
I picked
said,
the Raiders to win and the Cowboys to win, and everybody was like, "What?" I changed my mind.
Wow, that is extremely close. I can't live with that one for a little bit. I'm sorry.
I know. It's
Kind of
okay.
need the NFL
I won
season
my
to show up all
fantasy
over again.
championship, so you can't win everything, you know?
Oh, please don't remind me. My God. Oh, man.
Sorry.
Hey, shout out to Mark, though. Shout out to Mark. If I was going to lose to anybody in the fantasy championship game, it was going to be to an Eagles fan. So I'm glad I lost it to Mark, the main cahoon of the Mass Podcast. I look. My bad. Fly, Eagles, fly. I was wrong. I was mistaken for even being in the dance to begin with. My bad.
That goes to show, you know, all the people like to play on all the different platforms, the fantasy football stuff. Never listen to the analytics on the site that you're playing on. Always trust what your research says and go with what your gut says.
Absolutely.
Right? As many times I used to play in fantasy football leagues, I got a couple of them trophies still sitting outside because I didn't listen to what the analytics on there said. You know, your team graded out to be this.
Oh,
My team was in
terrible.
the championship 3 out of 4 years. So, so I don't want to hear nothing about what that site analytics said with my draft.
I literally won with
my
the G
draft.
League of football. So,
And in the last few years of playing fantasy, I didn't play any of that at all this year. But did I draft a running back in round one? Nope. I went with the wide receivers. I went to wide receiver 2s, not the number 1 guys, the number 2 wide receivers. And I drafted a quarterback nice and early. I also had a great backup quarterback as well for my bye week and all that fun sort of stuff. And you don't have to listen to what everybody says is the way to win a fantasy team. It's just ridiculous how everybody's, you got to have this guy, you got to take this guy. No, you don't. It depends on where you draft from in the snake draft as to what you're going to do, kids.
Well done, Greg. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Christy. Today's her birthday. Just saw that in the chat a little bit. Happy birthday to Christy Love, co-host of the Foul on the Play. Gonna give a quick bravo. And also, since I'm giving ladies love today, I want to give a special adieu to Ashmere, our host of the Moving the Chains.
thank you.
She has done just a spectacular job of just manning the ship. We appreciate all the hard work you have done week in and week out on a daily basis, all the content that you do. It does not go unnoticed. It is greatly appreciated. I know that we have a little lawsuit going on where we're actually going against the grain in this regard. I am not taking that front. I am taking any opportunity I can to appreciate the women in sports who bust their tails off week in and week out, day in and day out, to make the whole world go around. So I want to give my props where props is due. Christy, enjoy your birthday. Ashmere, keep killing it. Appreciate you. Just want to put that out there.
All right, before we close out, you cannot think I wasn't going to give you guys a trivia question. So I found this online, and this is my question for you all. What quarterback this season has the most games of a passer rating above 100 and 2+ passing touchdowns?
Oh my God. Damn.
Lamar.
I was thinking Lamar too. Sheesh.
Jared Goff.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield. Is he a playoff quarterback?
Yeah.
He's a playoff quarterback? Okay. I think I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield.
And
All right, Greg.
What was your rating? Plus 100 quarterback rating?
Yeah.
And
2+
touchdowns?
passing touchdowns.
Yes.
Joe Burrow.
All right, we've got Lamar, Jared, Joe, Baker.
Yes.
Okay. Lamar, Jared Goff, and Joe Burrow are all tied at 11. Josh Allen has 9. Bo Nix and Baker both have 7. The answer is Sam Darnold with 12.
Sam Darnold. I knew it was going to end up being
hell. See?
I knew it was going to be Darnold. Damn it.
Oh, Sam Darnold did not pull through today.
Oh my God. You just gave him an extra $5 million on his new deal. Just
You're
because you
welcome,
had the trivia question.
And don't get caught up in the numbers that these quarterbacks make. Stop doing this, kids. It is the salary cap era. It goes up to $272.5 million next year. I don't care what a quarterback makes. It doesn't matter.
See, you want to change the quarterback pay scale. It's got to happen the same way the running back pay scale changes.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have teams have success with young quarterbacks on their rookie deal, and they don't put up the greatest numbers. They just play within the system, and then all of a sudden, paying that special guy $80 million doesn't happen anymore because then they just let him bounce around. That's until that happens. That's what you're going to get. You're going to be paying the quarterbacks way more. You're paying the receivers way more than you're paying the running backs because right now it's a passing league and you have to have that quarterback. But
is it really a passing league, Jeff? Because you got Saquon Barkley and all these other running backs this year, Derrick Henry.
but if those guys don't win the Super Bowl and you still have a Mahomes and all those guys in the Super Bowl, all that stuff goes away.
Means nothing.
That's what's still the running back market. It was different 20 years ago when you had the Emmets and the Barrys, and those guys were, taking their teams deep or winning or carrying their teams. When Emmitt Smith was, he was able to hold out because he took his team to a Super Bowl, only Russian champion to do that. So until you have a running back that becomes that important a piece in a franchise that they're carrying the franchise, you're not going to get that. It just doesn't correlate to what they're doing now. Right now, it's quarterbacks. It's a quarterback-driven league. Until you can get away from the quarterback being the centerpiece of everything, and you have to have something else to go along with it to make it work, then you'll go back to having running backs getting paid more and quarterbacks paid less. But right now, even the receivers are topping it because you need a number one receiver and you need a quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We've got 15 minutes to kick off, so it's time for everyone to collect their snacks and get on the couch, as me and Joe always joke around and say. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I appreciate it. It was a lot of football to talk about, and slowly we're going to lose games, which is going to be sad. Thanks for everyone tuning in today on Moving the Chains. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow everywhere that you find us on social media. And like I said earlier, sending all of our thoughts to the people of Los Angeles, and hopefully things can get better in due time. Enjoy your Sundays, everybody, and we will see you next week.